With a ringing bell, the door to the carousel boutique opened an entire hour later. Octavia trotted out, stumbling to compensate for the flounce of skirts clinging to her figure. With a groaning sigh, she approached the couch once more. She paused for a moment, glaring at the sky as the sun made its way towards the west horizon. She looked at the couch, then at the distant edge of Ponyville. After a momentary pause, Octavia grumbled breathily, put her puffy shoulders to the ugly furniture's soft weight, and resumed shoving it across the grass. Every now and then, ponies would stop in mid-trot or in mid-conversation to gaze at the overgrown school filly pushing a heavy piece of beige vomit across the length of town. With an exchange of nervous glances, the Ponyvillian residents whistled and returned to whatever it was they were doing. Several minutes later, Octavia had reached another intersection. Her breaths were coming in laboured waves of muscle-aching numbness. The mare was sweating up a storm, and it didn't help that she was burdened with wearing layers of Rarity's hoofwork in addition to it all. Several times she stopped and fidgeted in vain to peel the dress off, but she couldn't for the life of her find out where the zipper was in the back, or even if there was a zipper to the blasted thing. Somehow she knew she was going to be imprisoned in that gown for the rest of her life, haunted by violet bows until the day she died. So agonized were Octavia's thoughts that she didn't notice the drops of rain until one or two of them had pelted the tip of her muzzle. She glanced up, and a soundless shriek escaped her lips. Dark thunderclouds had sprouted over the rooftops of Ponyville without any warning whatsoever. Soon a cascading string of raindrops was washing over the village, roaring towards her like a sadistic monsoon. The mare panicked, hyperventilating. She ran little circles around the couch, trying to come up with a plan. She tried pushing the couch away from the wave of rainfall, but it wouldn't move any faster than before. At last she hopped up onto the cushions and, in a moment of brazen stupidity, tried spreading her skirts around as if it could somehow shelter the furniture from the moisture. Ultimately, she huddled, shivering, in the centermost seat and covered her head, waiting for the inevitable. The rain swept over, and she remained as dry as a desert plateau. "Hey!" a voice cracked from overhead. "You late for a spelling bee or something? Head for cover! In case you couldn't tell, the Pegasi are scheduled to make it rain." Octavia lifted her head from beneath her hooves, blinking. She squinted towards the skies. A single patch of daylight hovered expertly over the spot where her couch was, keeping her and the piece of furniture dry. Just then, the blue shade against the shimmering zenith came to life, shooting down on blazing wings. "Whoa! You're an adult!" Rainbow Dash frowned, leaning down to inspect the earth pony closely. "What's with the fancy getup? Did your dress go to war with a Haribo factory or something?" Octavia merely stared at her. She bit her lip and glanced nervously at the ring of raindrops pouring down in a thick halo around the two of them. "Hey, don't freak out on me or anything," Rainbow Dash exclaimed, waving her forelimbs. "I'm not in the business of drowning ponies, no matter how much they look like rodeo clowns. You just catch your breath, and then I'll carve a dry path between this lame excuse for a couch and the nearest building." She froze suddenly, squinting at the earth pony from where she hovered. "Wait, I know you." Octavia did a double take. Yeah. Rainbow folded her forelimbs, frowning venomously. "You're the big shot pony who thought she could play counselor to Twilight and Fluttershy." A mortified expression crossed Octavia's stone-grey features. "They're doing all right, don't you worry. Heck, last time I saw Twilight, she was halfway through writing a letter to Celestia and super buzzed about it, too. But that's not the point." Growling like an angry cat, Rainbow Dash poked her scowling face into Octavia's vision. "I'm the loyalest pony in all of Ponyville. It should be my job to lift my friend's spirits, not some show-off pony from out of town. What, you trying to challenge me or something?" Nervously, Octavia backtrotted, only to trip on her skirts and fall awkwardly across the couch. She scurried up against the hoof-rest, her teeth chattering. "Hey, I'm not going to suplex you or anything," Rainbow Dash groaned. "Though you're practically asking for it in that... Just where the heck did you get that frou-frou nonsense anyways?" Her blue face scrunched up in thought, and then she gasped. "Oh, dear Celestia, you've talked to Rarity too, haven't you?" Octavia smiled sheepishly, trying to contain her sweat. This is the worst!" Rainbow Dash pulled at her prismatic mane. "It's not enough that I constantly gotta be skipping town to attend Wonderbolt's Academy. I'm getting rusty. I'm letting other ponies steal my thunder. My friend Thunder." Octavia shook her head and waved her forelimbs emphatically. "Huh? What?" Rainbow Dash squinted at her. "Let me guess, you want to try befriending me too, huh?" Octavia dragged a hoof across her face and sighed. "Well, it ain't happening." Rainbow folded her forelimbs and hovered with her back to the mare. "I don't care how easily you got on the good side of Twilight, Fluttershy, and Rarity, but you're not getting a single sentence of conversation out of me. Nope, no siree. I'm stronger than that. See that I'm not." She blew a raspberry over her shoulder for emphasis. An hour later. So I guess when it comes down to it, I've always suffered from not having my mother around when I was a little filly, Rainbow Dash murmured, lying on the couch with her forelimbs folded against her chest in a foolish manner. I mean, my dad was great. He was freaking awesome. She gulped, her ruby eyes growing misty. But, when he passed away, it was as if a huge clump of feathers had been ripped out from under my wings. I only knew how to cope with stuff like a colt would, 'cause that's how he taught me, you know? I can't fault the guy. He was only doing his best as a single father could in Cloudsdale. Octavia sighed long and hard. She stood beside the couch, leaning against it as she craned an ear in Rainbow Dash's direction. Every now and then she would politely nod and smile, then return to fussing with her annoyingly puffy gown. I guess it's all so simple, really, Rainbow Dash muttered. She bit her lip as she stared up at the singular patch of uncloudy sky. Her voice reverberated, echoing off the thin drizzle of rainwater surrounding them in a circle. As long as I could remember, ponies have been labeling me as a tomcolt, and I guess they're right. But the reason for it is nothing to laugh at. I wonder if maybe I just told them that. Then they lay off me, you know? But she winced as if giving birth. To open up like that has always seemed like such a weak thing to do. You feel me? Octavia tugged at a hem of skirts. With a ripping sound, a violet bow came loose. She froze in place, turning pale as she grimaced at the accidental damage done. She juggled the bow in her hoof and glanced over her shoulder. Rainbow Dash covered her face with a pair of forelimbs. I just wish I could let it all rest, you know? I wish I would make a big deal out of stuff I could totally kick against the curb in a heartbeat. It's all so stupid. Just then, something soft and velvety brushed against her nose. Huh? Rainbow Dash blinked, peeking through her forelimbs. Octavia was offering Rainbow Dash the bow with a nervous smile. Blinking, Rainbow Dash picked it up, dangling it from her hooves like it was something diseased. With each passing second, she became more and more relaxed with the girly ornament. Huh. Yeah, okay. She gulped. All I need to do is... She winced again, squinting one eye towards Octavia in a pensive manner. Get more in touch with my feminine side? Octavia stared at her blankly, then smiled with a shrug. Rainbow Dash gazed back, then beamed. Awesome! Why didn't I ever think of that? She spun around, fidgeted with her hair, then spun back with the bow hanging awkwardly off the very tip of her spiked mane. Ta-da! What do you think? It took all of Octavia's strength not to gag. She smiled with the grace of an ice skater having fallen into a frozen lake. Rainbow Dash nevertheless bought it. Ha! Yeah, I can so do this! She flew up above the couch with a thundering burst of air. I mean, why not? It's never too late to catch up with oneself, right? And I've totally got the sort of friends I need for this sort of thing. Just you wait and see. In a week's time, I'll be so in touch with my feminine side, it won't be funny. I'll be like, hey you, feminine side, we're going out for a mug of cider. And she'll be all like, but I haven't done the dishes. And I'll say, where we're going, baby, we don't need no dishes. And then she'll swoon and say, oh, Rainbow Dash, you're so cool. Fly me to the moon, you handsome... Rainbow Dash bit her lip, blushing furiously. Pretty is what I meant. 'Cause mares are supposed to be pretty. She fidgeted, then squinted down at the couch. Right? Octavia pivoted an outstretched hoof from side to side. Right. I should be going right now, Rainbow Dash managed, still blushing. She shook it off with a squinting expression throwing the Earth Pony's way. You ain't so bad, lady, but I'm onto you. She pointed with a glare. Don't think this means the challenge is over with. I'm going to outfriend you through the floor. The air broke with more thunder. As Rainbow Dash rocketed away, the clouds finally cleared. The last few drops of rain fell, then all was still, save for the distant chirping of songbirds as they invited the orange ways of a setting sun. Alone once again, Octavia sighed. She fidgeted, hesitated, but ultimately stepped around towards the far side of the couch. As she did so, her hooves trudged deep into fresh, squelching mud. Her body shivered from all over, and it took a great deal of effort to lift her skirt above the brown, sloppy mess. With a prolonged groan, she pushed her puffy shoulders once more to the couch and began shoving the thing through the rain-drenched streets of Ponyville. Octavia had lost track of how many times she'd tripped and fallen by the time she reached the third block from where she started. She had long given up on trying to salvage the dress. It was splotched over in several places from copious amounts of mud and rainwater. That, and the angle of the sunlight, was baking her through to the skin. Her mane had fallen into a frazzled state as sweat poured from her forehead, adding to a disgusting image she was certain to find the very moment she looked in a mirror. At some point, she felt her muscles throbbing, and she knew that one more step would make her faint. So, slumping against the couch, she fanned herself with a weary hoof. She still couldn't get cool enough. That dress was an absolute prison. Sweating profusely, Octavia glanced left and right. The coast was clear. In one swift motion, she loosened her bow tie and rubbed her neck. She instantly felt cooler, as if taking an ice bath in her mind. She closed her eyes as her hoof habitually rubbed an age-old scar that stretched across the side of her neck, stopping in the middle of her throat. Just then, a humming voice drifted around the street corner, followed by a pleasantly drawling voice. "Why, howdy there! Fancy meeting you again!" Every hair of Octavia's coat stood on end. In a flurry, she slapped her bow tie back on, fiddling with the collar until it once again strategically covered her neck. Spinning around, she struck a casual pose against the side of the couch and smiled nonchalantly in Applejack's direction. "Good heavens, Sugar Cube!" the farm man nevertheless gasped. She almost dropped her bit bag and a basket of apples on her flank. "You look like you just got through wrestling two muddied hogs in the back alley of a department store. What in Celestia's name happened to you?" Octavia's smile was a fractured, spastic thing. She could only gulp and fight away the shivers. "Oh, you poor, poor thing." Applejack trotted up with a sympathetic smile. "All you wanted the whole time was to move this here couch someplace, wasn't it?" With a sigh, Octavia hung her head. She nodded meekly, like the little foal she was involuntarily dressed to mimic. "Well, why didn't you say so?" Applejack tilted the mare's chin up. "Don't you fret, darling. There ain't nothing wrong in asking for a healthy heaping of hospitality. What side of the town you headed for?" Octavia's eyes sparkled in gratitude. Stifling a happy sob, she turned and pointed anxiously towards the south end of Ponyville. "Down by the river, eh?" Applejack's freckles shimmered in the light of the sunset. "Why, that's a mighty pretty place to settle down. I wouldn't mind seeing it once again." She winked and trotted up to the edge of the couch. "You just step back and have yourself a breather. I reckon I can handle the rest of the trip on my own." Octavia shook her head, grasping earnestly at Applejack's shoulder. No, I mean it." Applejack smiled and softly pushed Octavia back. "I've bucked enough trees in my life to know I can handle a simple little piece of furniture." She put her back into the weight of the couch and began moving the object across the muddy streets at an amazingly swift pace. "See? Ain't nothing to it. I swear on my life, nothing's gonna get in the way of me helping another pony in need." An enormous 6-ton, 3-headed canine jumped over a row of houses, bent down low, and roared furiously at the two mares. Octavia's breath left her as she toppled head over hooves a half-dozen times. Applejack rolled into a tree, landing in a thump. "Ugh, God darn it," she hissed, snarling at the hulking monstrosity. "Not again." Octavia sat up, panting, mouthing those last two words in utter perplexity. She winced as Applejack galloped straight past her. "How many times we gotta go through this, Cerberus?" Applejack had already produced a rope from beneath her hat and was lassoing it through the air with her teeth. "Ugh, get back in your damn cage in the underworld." The noose flung around the middlemost head. Blinking awkwardly, the trio of dog faces snarled and reared up towards the sky. "Whoa!" Applejack yelped as she was flung towards the air. She kept biting down hard onto the rope and used the leverage to brace herself against the black beast's muscled shoulders. "Dagnabbit, I ain't in the mood to play fetch. Now get! Get!" The demon dog wasn't about to cooperate. It thrashed and bucked and kicked at the orange farm mare with every ounce of strength given it by the hellions of Tartarus. Several ponies ran out of their houses to gawk in horror as the threefold canine sprinted towards the far end of Ponyville, wrestling with the stubborn earth pony on its back. 2 blue-colored stagecoaches fitted with police sirens blazed by, followed by an ambulance and several guard ponies in glittering gold armor. Then, just as swiftly as the bedlam started, all fell into deathly silence. Octavia sat in the mud, blinking dazedly into the burning horizon. With a grumbling breath, she hoisted her weary self up, dusted her tattered dress off, and plodded lonesomely towards the couch, pushing it once more down the length of the rain-soaked village.